And we are back with another Thought Leadership podcast series. This is Abe Cohn with THC Legal Group. And today we have Liz with us. Liz, welcome. How are you?
Hi, how are you doing?
Good. Okay, so, we're so happy to have you on here. Tell us a little bit about yourself, the company that you're with, and, how you got into the industry.
Well, thanks for having me, for one thing. I am the co-founder of a company called MoonMan's Mistress.
Okay.
We are a paleo-centric edible company. Our whole value is that every ingredient should have a benefit to your body. We're really about healing your body with proper diet and movement and sleep. So we kind of take it from the perspective of preventative wellness, really advocating for the best version of yourself.
Okay, wonderful. So, and when you say paleo, are you using that term kind of as a term of art? Is it quite literally the paleo diet, or is it kind of in line with some of the stylistic trends of paleo diets?
So all of our products are gluten-free, dairy-free, soy-free, and low glycemic. We only use whole ingredients. So I would say that we're paleo-centric. Okay. I wouldn't necessarily say that we're hunter and gatherers per se, but we're paleo-centric.
I see. But certainly the focus is to have this holistic view on health and making sure that all of the ingredients are kind of in line with
Absolutely. And we also worked predominantly with organic permaculturist cannabis growers. So we really, our emphasis, my other co-founder is a personal trainer and a veteran. So we really felt as though there was so much value and need for people to advocate for wellness in this space, regardless if it went to adult use or stayed in a more medicinal, patient-centric, compassionate care arena. You still need brands to advocate for the end user.
Right.
And because there's a huge deficit just as a global issue when it comes to eating and exercise, that we're so inundated with information that a lot of times people don't wake up until they're sick. So we're here as brand ambassadors for you, and and MoonMan's Mistress is kind of this play on. We wanted health to be approachable and fun, and not so inundated of don't do this, don't do this. Life is about an 80-20. 80% of the time, take really good care of yourself, but 20% of the time, you still have to live.
Yeah.
You should, so it's all about creating this balance. And because there was not a lot of education just in Western medicine across nutrition, I entered this space. I've been an active recreational cannabis user since my teenage years, and it wasn't until my later teenage years that I was diagnosed with celiac and Hashimoto's. And I was over-medicated for about 18 years, from hormone replacements to antidepressants to painkillers to everything. No one ever talked to me about my diet until I went to Breckenridge, Colorado. No one ever said what you're eating is causing all these. They wanted to take out my thyroid. They thought I had thyroid cancer. They kept on telling me it was all in my head, and there was nothing that they could do for me. So if you look at individual bio blueprints of human beings, everyone's different. So our goal at MoonMan's Mistress was really to create products that were really approachable and fun. I mean, cookies make people happy, but I made a really healthy version of a cookie. So, and I wanted it to be where people started having that education and those light bulb moments of that it is possible to eat healthy, and it's not cumbersome, and you can find really amazing ingredients anywhere. You just have to be taught and guided in a proper way. There's space for everybody, but at the end of the day, our brand really represents wellness and preventative wellness. And preventive health, because I don't want you to come and start engaging with my product because you have bone cancer or you have lupus. I mean, granted, our products are great for that. But I mean, once you want to start off like treating yourself in a positive way so you don't end up that way. And if you do, you're more prepared.
One of the things that I find so interesting about edibles, and I would imagine challenging, I would love to get your input on this, is, given the fact that each person responds to cannabis differently, and of course, each person requires a different dosage depending on a whole myriad of factors, how is it that you go about calibrating just the perfect amount of dosage per edible? How do you know how much each cookie should get? How does that work?
So since the start of our company, we initially, the first place I started when I decided to enter this space was a lab. And we happened to go with this amazing lab, CW Analytical, and their CEO and founder was a food scientist.
Uh-huh.
And I came to him saying, "Hey, I want to do this." And he said, "Wow." He's like, it's going to fall in line with the entourage effect. Because we're using whole ingredients. So there's all these sort of things that happen and all these chemical reactions that happen in addition to the cannabis.
Right.
So we started out, unfortunately, California's market is currently THC to dollar demographic,
okay.
which is unfortunate. So a lot of the edible space is really, really high dosage,
okay.
Which is under the pretenses that the user is responsible enough to know what their dosage is. So an average bar is 100 milligrams or higher. We wanted it because we're very active. We're the active stoners, essentially. Okay. I mean, about 5-7 days a week, and surfing, yoga, running, whatever.
Yeah.
We wanted to create a product where if you wanted to be couch locked, you could, but that was never our intention. Our intention was to provide you with these healing ingredients that that help you along your way. So whether you're going to the gym, pre or post workout, whether you're going to a yoga class, we sponsor a ganja yoga session every Thursday.
Okay. I love that.
We've done, boot camps around cannabis. I mean, so it just depends. But my whole thing is it's all bio-individuality at the end of the day. So all of our cookies are triple batch tested. So we test the oil, we test the flowers, the oil, and the end product for pesticides, mold, all of it, and potency. So every single box that we put on the shelf has already been triple batch tested, and it's tested every time we bake. That's not by law is a requirement, but as a very transparent brand that believes in wellness and what you put into your body really has an effect on you, we wanted it to be full transparent. And because we are gluten-free, soy-free, dairy-free, low glycemic, we don't cause sugar spikes because the sugars that we use are minerally rich, so they're not known to cause pancreatic spikes as quickly as refined sugars. And then on top of that, we're using whole fatty ingredients, and then we're using coconut oil. So it takes a little bit longer to hit your system, but the high can last 6 to 8 hours, depending on how you metabolize fat.
So it really sounds like you consider cannabis to be a true medicine and not just kind of a vice that people should have the right to experiment with. I'm just wondering how you view even the idea of regulation. What role should government have in cannabis use and regulation, given the fact that it is being used as some sort of medicine?
I think in a lot of ways, I think the government should have the same stance it has on alcohol.
Okay.
In the sense it should be of age. I think that there's a place, in any industry, there's always going to be a recreational end user and a medicinal end user in a certain degree. Like some people use drinking as a relaxant.
Yeah.
So my whole thing was I was approaching it as going to market with a product that you can literally, people, buy our product to go camping. There are people that are solely recreational users because of California law that have medical IDs. You know, like anyone can walk into a spot above a record shop and be like, I have a neck pain. They're like, here you go.
Yeah.
You know, it's just the stigma around cannabis use. And that's what MoonMan's Mistress was really about is, yeah, cannabis helped me actually become a healthy, active, vibrant individual. But at the same time, you know, I'd still rather smoke a joint at a festival than drink a beer. Because I can't drink beer, but if I could, I would still smoke a joint. And I didn't need it for any other reason other than, like, I was at a music show. So I think it comes down to people being accountable for their choices, and that, you know, never in all the history of time has cannabis caused as many issues as alcohol and tobacco. I think that it's hard to say. I think that fear and prohibition have painted such a negative light on something so phenomenal. I mean, I saw the FCC or someone said something along the lines of, like, any homeopathic company going forward after a certain date has to have a disclaimer that says that there's no proof that any of this works at all.
It's a challenging thing because on the one hand, I mean, without a doubt, we do need kind of rigorous scientific testing to make sure that there is, you know, accountability for the substances that we're putting out to market. So that's absolutely the case. But, you know, of course, at the same time, the mechanisms that are currently in place for other testing operations for, you know, call them conventional medicines aren't really set up to deal with cannabis at this moment. And it doesn't really seem fair to not allow cannabis to be put on the market given these limitations. So but
at the same time, can't cannabis be seen as, you know, an agricultural element? I mean, it's the same thing as if I was an apple farmer and I wanted to sell apples at the farmer's market.
Right, but no apple farmer would suggest that they're selling medicine.
Right. But that's the same thing as I can talk about at the same time of, in my morning smoothie, I put chia seeds and gelatin and protein powder and coconut milk. And I can talk about how all of those ingredients have a healing component. Yeah, and that's medicine. Food is thy medicine.
Right.
So I still view anything I put in, and this is a personal view, that anything that you're eating or fueling, you know, is a medicine to your body. You know, how that carrot breaks down in your body and that sugar and those beta carotenes and all that benefits your body.
Right. I mean, look, this is definitely the linguistic challenges here, I think, are what make the conversation so tricky. Fierce advocates say, look, this is definitely benefiting my body. Government says, well, wait a second, we have strict criteria for what we can label as medicine.
Right. So I think that we're, you know, that slippery slope of regulation, government regulated anything. You know, there's a lot of people, you know, a lot of food activists, you know, and documentarians that have gone about and called out manufacturers being like, this is similar to, like, petroleum. Yeah. You're feeding, you know, things like that. So I just feel like that there's the lexicon and the rhetoric all has to evolve. Because when it was written, you know, 50, 60 years ago, or, you know, how many years anything's gone, you know, has come and gone, no one had forecasts of technology. No one had forecasts, you know, they had forecasts on, like, population growth and economic and socioeconomic whatever. But at the end of the day, no one really thought about what happens when people stop living in the dark over cannabis. You know, just in general. I mean, I think because, you know, I have family members that have been growing for like 40 plus years. Right. Yeah. Just what they did. I grew up around a Native American Cherokee medicine man. Like, it wasn't even, like, you just never even, like, it wasn't even a question. You're right. Like, there's no stigma around it because I grew up in a very open, liberal household where there wasn't a lot of rhetoric. There was more rhetoric and negativity of, like, my drunk uncle or, you know, hearing the neighbor, like, crash his car. You know, alcoholism was a huge problem growing up. And cigarettes. I mean, so many of, you know, my friends' parents died of lung cancer and things like that. So I just feel like that it's just going to take time, and it's not going to be our generation. It's going to be like 2 more generations, I think, before it really changes.
The stigma is definitely holding back the industry in a lot of different ways. As someone who's involved commercially, what sort of legal obstacles have you run into? Have you had difficulty securing real estate to park your business? Have you been able to sign up with a bank? What sort of obstacles have you come across?
Oh, there's it depends on the day.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Definitely, our challenges are also personified and maximized, not only because we're a small business, but we're also in the cannabis industry.
Yeah.
So banking's an issue. Definitely real estate's an issue. Intellectual property. Start there. Yeah. We have a really cool brand and a logo, and we're writing all this content. I mean, we want to protect that. How do we go about doing that in a legal manner?
Yeah, well, we are. You've come to the right place. I'm happy to say, Liz.
Oh no, so it's things like that when you're starting a business. But I think the biggest hangups are, I never in a million years thought it would be so hard to get a cookie with cannabis on the shelf, like in front of potential patients or users or buyers or wherever, because the market is so saturated. With dollar to THC, that it is hard to talk to people about the value of that human being that's coming in and going to eat it.
Yeah.
The huge disconnect. And that's not even, that's anyone walking into a dispensary or anyone walking into a grocery store. There's a disconnect that there are specific brands. What I always use an example is you go to Whole Foods and you walk in the protein bar aisle. Every time you go to the protein bar aisle, there's probably 5-6 more brands on the shelf. But you have your staples, and then you get your one-offs.
Yep.
And that's kind of what the edible market is how do you create or have space for emerging brands when you're a small little company that goes above and beyond, trying to engage with users that are very much recreationally driven. Not all, but a large population is. That is still not educated on how THC and consuming THC from an edible ingestion perspective, how much THC you actually really need, and what is your end goal.
So how have you gone about mounting that challenge? I mean, are you doing what sort of marketing efforts are you doing? Branding? What are you doing?
So we spend a lot of time on education, on our packaging. We talk about all the benefits the ingredients have on your body. We do a lot of in-store demos. Partner with a lot of. We're partnered with Operation EVAC, which is a veterans group that is PTSD focused.
Okay.
We're trying to build out more cannabis-centric boot camps. 420 games. So it's just the traditional way of launching a brand.
Yeah.
You get a lot of people talk about it.
Many of our listeners here are also, like we said, kind of startup companies in this space. Do you use a lot of social media? What type of tips could you give some of the listeners to get their brand out there?
So definitely social media, for sure. But you need it to have a consistent narrative. I think that people are inundated with technology. So what are your brand values, and how do you personify those? How do you communicate that narrative through all sorts of channels, from how your business card looks and feels to what your logo looks, and how your logo sits on an image to how it sits on a white background to a black background. What your colors mean. What does your name represent? Our whole idea of MoonMan's Mistress is a MoonMan is an astronaut that has to be in peak performance. So it was very, very structured, very frameworked. Yeah. And that was very cohesive to my business partner being a veteran, being a personal trainer, and that structure. And a mistress is if you actually look up what the word mistress means, is a woman that is an educator and a leader and a disruptor. and as well as, you know, the illicit, you know, the other woman,
Yeah.
which was kind of personifying cannabis. Is that it is thought provoking, it is educational, and it was very significant of my personality. So it was this. We really put a lot of thought into when you're doing a brand and you're creating a product. Who are you speaking to? Who are your core verticals? You know, I mean, we're ahead of the curve because we're focused on wellness and healing the body, and a lot of people aren't ready for that conversation. But, you know, if you had a chocolate company, are you going through a fair trade cacao farm? You know, where are you sourcing your stuff? Are you working with indoor flowers versus outdoor flowers? What are you trying to represent? Because everyone's trying to get to the market because everyone has imagined marijuana as the next big green rush.
The green rush.
But if you look at the tax structure that's being proposed, I mean, the black market is only going to grow. So it's just very unfortunate in a lot of ways that a lot of the conversation and a lot of the rush to get it all figured out. And the unfortunate thing is, at the end of the day, people forgot to think about people. And, you know, that's not what corporate America is about.
No, I think that's great advice. So, you know, really humanizing the brand, reminding people that you're not just another statistical business, you know, trying to make their way, but, you know, you're real people trying to help consumers in need, and hopefully that will elevate the brand.
Yeah, and I think that I think that it's important. You know, you look at large brands like Virgin or Tesla or Honest or Epic. You know, they all have social awareness. They're all really socially conscious, and they're very innovative. You know, so you have to remember when you're building a brand, it's all been done. It's all been done.
Yep.
So knowing that, how are you going to convince someone that the world needs something that you created and now they can't live without? That's the problem you're solving.
I think that's
you're trying to
advice.
Solve people's pain.
So, what sort of feedback have you gotten from your own customers? Do you get inspiring emails like, "You've changed my life, I feel better, I couldn't wake up and now, you know, I can go through and have a normal day"? What kind of inspires you in terms of the feedback you've gotten from customers?
I mean, from anything to, you know, I worked with somebody that had broken his clavicle bone, and between CBD and our cookies from pain management, he was in physical therapy in 3.5 weeks after cracking his clavicle bone in 3 places. Which is, you know, the doctor was blown away. You know, I've gotten my 70-year-old mother off a bunch of painkillers. You know, that always feels really good. I've helped people with migraines. I've worked with teenagers trying to detox off of Adderall.
It's so interesting to speak of it that way, you know, to detox off of the, quote, conventional drug, and to do that by taking the unconventional drug. There's something kind of very interesting and informative about that.
Well, and also the way that, you know, our approach, because, you know, not to sound redundant, is that, you know, we're looking at a product. We developed a product that has an entourage effect. That literally, if it's the almond flowers or the sunflower seeds or whatever, there is a, you know, or the raw cacao. I mean, we've really specifically sought out these ingredients because of these healing beneficial properties they have. And I wish, you know, we're soy free. Like, we have taken out a lot of things that would cause inflammation in your body, because inflammation is the new cancer. Inflammation is just another word for cancer. You know, Alzheimer's is the inflammation of certain parts of your brain. I mean, you start going down the list of, you know, these ailments and what people have. It's all inflammation. So if I'm going to develop something that people are going to eat, why would I give you a product that's going to cause more inflammation in your body? That makes no sense to me. Yeah. And granted, like, I'm a very honest, authentic, transparent person, and I know you know, a lot of times when you're scaling a business or trying to think about capital, or, you know, really getting the deck together to go talk to potential investors, you know, I'm emotionally invested because I care. But I think that that's a good quality. I mean, it's also a bad quality, but it's a good quality at the end of the day.
Uh-huh. Well,
So I think that that's the hard part, is when you go out, you know, when you start thinking about investing or breaking your company apart or giving shares, you know, you no longer have sole control over every decision. You then get buy-in, you know, when you have a board and things like that. And does that board back you and trust you and value you that it's going to have those brand values? So I think people have to think about it that way too. You know, what are your brand values? What is your employment team, your employees going to look like? What are your brand ambassadors out in the world? How is it going to sit? Because, you know, what I've learned after being in this space for a few years is, you know, I'm not scalable. So eventually I'm going to have to
bring on more people.
Divide and conquer.
Divide and conquer, exactly.
So, and still stay true. And, you know, that's why I admire, you know, brands like Virgin and Honest and Tesla and things like that. Because at the end of the day, their brand values still sit really, really well. You don't have to like them individually, but the whole umbrella of their brands are usually positive.
Absolutely. Well, you know, we are wrapping up, but one thing I really want to learn more about, we are big supporters of the United States military and, of course, all military men and women throughout the world for their service. I'd really love to learn more about how the veterans that you work with kind of experience cannabis as a medicine and how they relate to it, given some of the psychological issues that they might be struggling with when they return from their service abroad.
Well, because we're really about being approachable. Our big thing was, when you've been through some sort of physical or emotional trauma, your body goes into shock. A lot of it happens, and when your body goes into shock, it becomes very inflamed. So a lot of people, once they leave the military and we come back to civilian duty or civilian life, I guess it's not duty. I feel like it's duty sometimes.
It does feel that
way. You know, the stresses. I mean, there's no longer a day-to-day structure. And I think that having a way to ease a lot of that anxiety, a lot of those symptoms that are symptomatic of stress and inflammation, engaging with our product has been really beneficial, especially a lot of our older veterans. They can't have high sugary things, and they can't really, you know, it's really hard for them to smoke, you know, because of whatever reason. So that's been really beneficial to them. I think because people like that because we're really high in fat and it takes a really long time to hit your system, it allows them to kind of ease into the day, which has been really beneficial to them. And also, they really like how thoughtful we have been with every ingredient that we've sourced and providing them the educational material around it. Like, if they feel the love, like Ryan Miller, who's the head of Operation EVAC, he's just like, you can taste the love in your cookie. And that's just like one of the highest compliments that anyone can give you, because it's true. Like, we literally, I think that's what people don't understand. When you've been through a traumatic experience, sometimes all you need is someone to hold space for you and unconditionally love you as a human being.
Yeah.
So I feel like we've kind of take this very unconditional, like, you know, life of servitude kind of thing, of paying it forward, and bringing people, and giving and donating, you know, high quality products to people. You know, like, most people can't afford, you know, to eat super, super healthy all the time. Right. It's costly.
Very expensive.
So it's nice to kind of have that option for them. Because the more you can heal with food, the less that you're going to need of all the chemicals and all the other stuff. if you live a very whole plant-based diet. And cannabis is a plant, and cannabis to us is a superfood.
Well, I can certainly hear your love and passion for the business, and I have no doubt that our listeners will also share in your excitement. Tell us how can our listeners get a hold of you? How can they connect? How can they buy your products? How can they contact you?
So we have a pretty easy website to get to, www.moonmansmistress.com. You can follow us on Instagram. We're super active on Instagram. We have a Facebook page. We're on Twitter a lot at moon_mans. But yeah, if you go to our website, there's a where to buy button that you can click. We're at 15 dispensaries all over the state of California. If you're not in the state of California and you're struggling with dietary issues, or you want some advice on exercise or where to go for some holistic healing, feel free to reach out as well. We're here to support people. We're here to make the world a better place, one cookie at a time.
One cookie at a time. That would be that would be something great to get taglines.
Yeah.
One cannabis cookie at a time.
Yeah, cookies make people happy,
yeah.
And I think that at the end of the day, the world is a very chaotic and insane place, and if there are brands out there that are looking out for your well-being, why not support them?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, listen, Liz, it was a real pleasure to have you on our podcast.
Well, thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. Listen, everyone, check out Liz's website. Buy their stuff. It's made with love.
MoonMansMistress.com.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thanks so much, Liz. It was great. We hope to have you on again in the very near future.
Great. Thank you again. Thank you, listeners.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.